And we are live.
Hey everyone, it is Thursday, May the 21st, the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back being released in theaters. 4 days before I was born, just saying. Just saying. No happy birthdays yet, please. Don't jinx it. Tonight, our main topic is the Lords of Salem and 31. We're going to round out the rest of the Rob Zombie, his material, his original material tonight. And for those wanting to see or hear us and our thoughts on Halloween and Halloween 2 from 07 and 09, you're going to have to wait till October. That's just the way we're going to do it. And really, 31 was on Halloween. Maybe we should have pushed that one back too. But actually, I'm glad we didn't because I watched it last night again after the first time I saw it, and I really enjoyed it a lot more. We'll get to that shortly. There's a couple things we want to get to first. Number one is our friend Nate here, obviously wearing the Fangoria shirt. Yes, very nice. They revealed the cover that he did for Fangoria with Patton Oswalt, and it's glorious. You can see it on the Facebook page. Is there anything you want to say about it?
I can't say much about it. I don't want to, because it's based on an article inside that I think Patton wrote or is involved in. But the feedback, is that me or you all?
I don't know. I can hear it.
Yeah, it has to do with Patton. It's really cool. Geez, is that me or you all?
Awesome.
I can't. But it's basically it's Patton as a referee with all these monsters from horror, and it was supposed to be 80s and before. I'm not gonna talk about it because it's the whole premise of it is something to do with Patton. It's a really cool thing. Yeah, I was of course really excited because I grew up reading Fangoria and I never got to do a cover. I talked to Chris Alexander when he was still running it. We were talking one time and he said something about maybe having me do one eventually. Then he left the magazine, and then of course Fangoria went away for a while.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's probably that ship sailed. And, Phil Nolan, wrote me up about 2 weeks ago and asked me about it and told me about the project. And that was it. And it's really cool because Patton's like one of my top 5 stand-ups of all time. Saw him perform last year live. Actually, his new special is on Netflix this week, and all that material I saw him do live last year, and it's a great special. And again, I'm a big fan of his. Also, before I forget, I wanted to one of my favorite. We're doing podcasts. One of my favorite podcasts is Mark Maron's WTF, and I found out today that his girlfriend Lynn Shelton passed away over the weekend. They were living together in the house, and he would talk about her on the show. Like he goes, "Yeah, we're stuck here together. We're dating and all this." And unfortunately, she got really sick. They thought it was strep. They worried it was COVID. It wasn't COVID, but then she just collapsed, and it was like a blood disease, undiagnosed, and she passed. And I listened to his podcast today about her, and he replayed it's really I encourage everybody to listen to it because it was the first time he'd ever met her. She was on the show like 5 years ago, and it was the first time he met her. He said even then he could feel something. She was actually married at the time, and I think he was with somebody else, but there was a connection. You could feel it, and it's kind of just nice. I mean, he was out. It was hard to listen to because he was really upset. Of course, he just lost. Basically, sounded like she was the love of his life. He said this was like the first person he really felt that deeply about, and he yeah, that's the day he met her. That's the first conversation they ever had. It's preserved there, for everybody to listen to. So it's kind of cool to see that these two, that was their first conversation, and they ended up being in love. And unfortunately, she's gone. But I just wanted to mention that because I like I said, he's one of my favorite comedians as well as Patton, and I listen to his podcast religiously. And I turned it on today because I had some painting to do, working on a piece, and I had no idea. It was devastating, really. I had to turn it off after about 5 minutes at first because it was just so painful to hear him talk about her. But I just wanted to say, rest in peace to Lynn, and my heart goes out to her family and Mark.
Yeah, that's losing the love of your life is tough. I know firsthand. Well, I'm done with the show. That made me like extremely sad, and I started thinking about my wife. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ray. I mean,
it's okay. I'm just gonna. You guys, I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay. We'll talk about the movie theater experiences.
Go for it.
Go for it. Well, I had a topic for Tuesday, but we decided it would not be great for a full show, so we're just gonna do it top of the show. It's just good or bad, like I'm just gonna say horror movie experiences because I have those with horror movies. Does anybody have any like just things that come to mind about going to the movies and seeing a horror movie that was like good or bad, or how the audience was, or?
Yeah. I don't know. I have a lot of these because I worked at a movie theater and I had a lot of fun. But I think the one that comes to mind the most for me is Halloween H2O. Seeing that in the theater for the first time, it was when I was transitioning from being a casual horror fan to a little bit more of a hardcore horror fan, and I was still a little bit of a pussy back then, and so I was scared. I was always scared of Halloween because of the music and everything, and I had a part-time summer job, and my dad was working at the theater, and I went and to kill time, and I went to go see it a little reluctantly, and I really enjoyed it, and I came out and I was just talking about it a lot, and it made me go back and go through my mom's VHS tapes and watch the whole series, and now I'm just an obsessed fan.
I think mine that always came to mind, the whole reason I wanted to do the topic was I'm obviously younger than everybody else on here, and I didn't get to see most of the horror movies I like in theaters, but one that always comes to mind was the Friday the 13th remake, which I know not everybody likes, but that was like the largest crowd in a theater that was like chaos because it was a midnight release and it was like full of nothing but high school kids. And like they did a big like the theater manager came up to the front of the screen, which that was odd to me because that never happens when we go see a movie. And he was just telling us all to like have fun and don't go wild. But the thing that stuck out the most was the reactions from the crowd. Like that's like the only time I've really had that. I don't know if it's everywhere, but now when I go to the movies, it's just quiet or there's somebody being rude. But everybody was reacting to all the kills and the, perfect nipple placement bullshit.
Stupendous.
Stupendous tits.
That's a legendary scene. Yeah, there's nothing like going to the theater to see things. That's one thing I'm really looking forward to when this comes back. Hopefully, we get to go to the theater again because seeing not just horror movies in general, but like the feeling I got when I saw Endgame last year was even the Rise of Skywalker. Brought a lot of emotions. But one great memory I have is Episode 1, Star Wars, of course. Episode 1, opening night at the Quad Cinema here in in my hometown of Belleville. We got tickets 2 weeks ahead of time, waited in line again to get in, and there was excitement in the air. People were lightsaber dueling in the aisles. There was a girl who had her hair in buns, and my friends kept calling her Princess Lamey. And good time. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was an obvious dumb joke, but they thought it was hilarious. So the movie started. Everybody started cheering when we saw R2 for the first time. They start cheering, but right in the middle of the when they meet Boss Nass in Gunga, the sound went out.
Oh.
Yeah, the sound went out, and they couldn't figure it out. We were sat there for an hour, and the crowd was getting restless. And finally, the theater manager came, and he was crying his eyes out because this is one of the biggest releases ever. He's crying his eyes out, apologizing, and everybody's like saying they're gonna wait, and we started, saying we're gonna wait, and we waited. They got everything fixed. Luckily, somebody in the crowd knew how to fix all that stuff, fixed it right up. We got to finish the movie. We got out of there at 6 o'clock in the morning after a midnight show. It was an amazing experience, and you don't even get stuff like that anymore. Horror is tough in the theater because some of the crowds are hit or miss. They laugh at bad parts. Sometimes you sit next to the person that smells like a wet hot dog, But the last good horror movie I saw that I liked in the theater was the Child's Play remake. I took my son to see it. My first experience was sneaking in to see Dream Warriors in 1987. I was supposed to be seeing something like Crocodile Dundee or something. I don't remember. But anyway.
Yeah.
Can Chris not comment still?
I'm not sure.
You just messaged me again.
There's been a lot of debate on, some people are saying that theaters should die, and that it's home theaters are so good that now that you don't need them, and I just think it's bullshit. I mean, I like firsthand being there. You feed, especially with horror, like you said, it's a communal thing. You feed off the energy in the room, just like a comedy. When everyone's laughing or when everyone's sad, you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
There's an energy. It's like going to church when people are feeling the power or whatever. You feed off of other people's emotions and the electricity within them. The energy. And horror is that way. And I've been to a lot of great screenings like that where the crowd was just energized and screaming and laughing and jumping around. And Scream again, a midnight showing of Scream back in '96.
Was it like Stab?
It wasn't like Stab. They were, of course, nobody's in costume like that, but it was energized. One of the closest thing to the Stab thing I ever was at was Clerks in 1994. We went. There was a place called the Vogue in Louisville, Kentucky, and it was like a one theater, old school type theater, and they played Rocky Horror Picture Show, that kind of theater. And so they were playing Clerks, and this was when no one knew what it was. I'd seen like a trailer on the mini Miramax, VHS tapes that I'd rented or owned. And so I worked at a grocery store at the time, so I'm watching like, dude, I totally get this movie. Like these characters, they're talking about milkmaids and all this stuff in the trailer. And so we went and saw it, and it was just packed. It was a midnight showing. In 1994, and I just. The rock music, the soundtrack in it, it's just fall over funny the whole time. And I just remember like the energy when Jay and Silent Bob walked on screen for the first time. You just kind of felt that you were seeing something that was significant. I don't know what it was. And I think it was because it was so raw. It was so just a bunch of friends making a movie. And again, it was so fucking funny and entertaining that it was just like this rock concert. I remember feeling like, I said, that was like Def Comedy Jam or something. That's how it felt. Like everyone was just jumping out of their seats laughing their ass off. But with horror, again, we've talked about it on here many times. A Quiet Place, how quiet the theater was, because John Krasinski had us in the palm of his hand. Mm-hmm. Paranormal Activity was the same way. Every time it was nighttime and we were watching that footage when they're sleeping, everyone was dead silent and staring at the screen. Yeah. And anything that happened, they screamed. And Mandy. I saw Mandy in the theater when it came out, and seeing it on TV, completely different experience.
Yeah, and when you don't get to see a movie in the theater, you miss out on the not only experience but the event of going to the theater. Of course,
Yeah,
it can be costly, like what is it, 10, $12 for a ticket these days if you want to get popcorn. It's like a $50 trip if you take two kids. For me it is
yeah,
anyways. The kids got to get the cotton candy, they got to get the popcorn, which is I don't give a shit.
yeah.
You're looking at a rewards member, okay?
That's why you
You're
got
looking at a
deep
rewards member.
pockets.
I don't have deep
But
pockets, but I
people
have a rewards card that really pays off. Believe me.
people spend money on so many things. I don't really. I mean, I agree. If you're taking your clan to see a new Marvel movie or that's going to add up. But you're not taking the whole family, hopefully, to a horror film.
Oh, I am. I take
Maybe
it
you
every
can.
no.
Hey, unless you go to the drive-in, you're paying 20, 30 bucks.
Drive-in's another thing that's dying too.
But I just as a filmmaker myself, I've been fortunate enough to screen my films to multiple audiences in theaters and at festivals and just as someone like I mean you just there's nothing like that. And actually, again, I've shot the film, I've edited it, I've seen the movie a million times. Seeing it on a big screen with an audience, it's like seeing it for the first time. I mean, it really is, and you feel it, and
That
it's
I could imagine that just because at Horror Hound 2018, Vince from Never Hike Alone was showing Never Hike Alone, obviously, and it was right after the Kane Hodder Q&A, and I think they showed his documentary. But Jared, do you remember how Vince was acting? We sat right. He saved us seats. We sat right next to him,
Yeah.
and like he was like fidgety and like and he told me later that he was waiting.
He was
for
nervous
the
for sure.
reactions from the crowd. Yeah, he's nervous, and I mean, it were countless times before that he's shown that movie, and he was nervous.
he's sitting in
and
the back.
No, he was right in the middle. He was right in the middle.
Yeah, I'm always sitting in the back. Like I mean, like a lot of premieres. Like I think the funnest or one of the ones I remember was the Volumes of Blood sequel premiere was at this big convention center. Probably I don't know 400 people there, 500.
Wow.
And me and Johnny Holt, who directed he was a cinematographer on the whole film. He shot my two segments. He's my DP on those, and he directed the segment with the kid under the bed, and so he and I are like at the very back of the auditorium with Warren, I think, and Julie Strebel. We were all back there, and camera guy, and so we're like way in the back, and we're just watching everybody else, and we're on our feet. We're not even sitting. We weren't even sitting in the chairs, and that's how it was. I remember at the Confessions premiere, I was just sitting in the back row with my DP David, Brian, and Ellie Church, who I think they were showing Harvest Lake maybe that weekend, and they were sitting there back there with us, and yeah, I mean it's because that's part of it. I mean, Don Coscarelli made Phantasm because he was watching the audience react to things in Kinney and Company. So, I don't want theaters to ever go away. I want to see great films. I mean, and again, Keith, I was going to ask you, have you seen the re-releases of some of these classic films that they played?
That's what I was gonna bring up because I've
gone to see like Psycho and all this. I've seen movies I've seen 50, 100 times. See them on the big screen for the first time and go, I never heard that before. I never heard that part. I never saw that. I never noticed that.
Yeah,
I took a different experience.
I watched Alien like a bajillion times, and I got to see it last year for the first time in theaters. And I think I've said it on here before, but like the strobe light sequence at the end of the movie, like it's completely different seeing it in theaters. Like it actually is disorienting because you're watching on such a big screen, and like it actually has an effect on you.
Yeah, I mean, anytime they show these classic movies, generally they're also cheaper in price. Like they were doing $6 or something like that here. I took my niece and my son to go see A Nightmare on Elm Street on the big screen. I mean, they're both Fred heads, Reynolds likes Jason more. I'll go ahead and admit that. But they both do love Freddy, and boy, they got a kick out of it. I did have to buy the candy and stuff. I didn't give a shit. It was an outing. It was an experience that they'll never forget, seeing A Nightmare on Elm Street on the big screen. Just like 1990, was it 8 when The Exorcist was re-released? You can't. That's a memory I'll never let go of. And then when they started bringing Halloween to the theater, this is stuff that I missed out on because of course I wasn't alive yet, but I missed out on back then. And I was just saying this. I was watching Empire today. I was like, Disney should re-release all the Star Wars movies in the theater for a short run. I would be there, just like kind of like they did with the special editions in '97. I would be there 100% because I like this past summer in 2019, Jaws, Psycho, Alien, all the Peter Pan, which by the way is a fucking horror movie. I'm gonna stand by that. The mermaids tried to kill Wendy. They were like, "Oh, we're just trying to drown her." They're cannibals in that movie. It's a straight up horror cartoon. I'm just saying. Anyway, yeah, the theater should never go away. I'm sad that there are very few drive-ins. There's one here which I mean to go to this summer.
So we got a couple.
COVID-19's bullshit. So
we got a couple theater experiences in the comments.
Yeah, that Brad Rusk one is very interesting because it's 1980.
Brad Rusk said, first horror movie I saw in the theaters was original release of The Changeling when I was a kid. Ghost wheelchair scared the shit out of me.
With the poop emoji. Thank you
With
very
the
much.
poop emoji.
That's amazing. I mean, think about that for a second. That's from 1980, and he was a kid and seeing The Changeling. That would have scared the living, especially in a big, dark theater. I took Reynolds to see it, and we had to leave early because he was scared out of his mind.
George C. Scott was great in that movie.
George C. Scott was fantastic.
He said he was 8.
For sharing. Yeah, he was 8. Thanks for sharing. What's the other one?
Chris McGibbon. My theatrical experience was seeing Demons at a midnight screening. It was at the Coolidge Corner Theater, and the audience just went nuts over everything. People yelled, clapped, cheered, and there were actually members in the audience who were genuinely getting scared. I remember looking over at my friend who organized the event, and I was just like, this is incredible.
You don't get that at home.
No.
I mean, you don't get that at home. Remember the days when, and some people still do this, when you're 20, you get together with 5 or 6 friends and go see American Pie 2 3 or 4 times in one summer, or Old School. That's what I did. But like, it's an event. Going to the theater is just like going to a baseball game or a football game. It is an event, and it should not. I hope it never goes away. I mean, I do a horror movie night in my backyard under the stars, and people love that. It's people getting together, watching a movie, and sharing an experience, like Nate said. That's all what it's all about.
Yeah, there's nothing like
Go ahead, Brett. Go ahead, Seth.
I was just gonna say, there's nothing like the big screen experience. Like with that many times I saw Star Wars as a kid, it was just so awesome when they released the special editions to be there. I saw Empire, I don't know how many fucking times, and I was right up in the front row too. It was just amazing seeing it on the big screen. And then 2 years ago, I got to see Die Hard on the big screen, and that's my favorite movie of all time. And it's awesome.
That would be an event.
It's completely different. Like so Star Wars, I remember because Jedi was the only one I saw in theaters on the original run, and when they did in '97 when they brought them back, I mean, because we've been seeing it that big, cut, and to see it and hear it the way it was meant to be, it just hits you. It hits you right in the stomach and the heart, and you feel it, man, and you just don't get that sitting in your couch.
Yeah, I don't get the excuse of TVs have gotten so good we don't need the theater. One, it depends on your house. Can you have a giant surround sound system? But still, it's not going to compare to a movie theater with Dolby Atmos surround
and I get legitimately bummed out if I miss a theatrical run of a movie I wanted to see. I really do get bummed out if somehow I miss it. I remember a couple years ago, I wanted to see something and I couldn't find anybody to watch the kids. It was a horror movie. It may have been.
I remember this.
But anyway, well, there's been a few times that I couldn't find a sitter and I couldn't see the movie I wanted to go see. And I tell you what, man, that really upset me. And I missed the theatrical run. And I remember getting the Blu-ray or DVD. And this is, like I said, multiple times because I don't have any babysitters. That I've gotten. I'm like, I can't even imagine how great this would have been to see it in the theater. Like if I would have missed out on any Star Wars movie, I would just give up on my life.
Oh, all those people who didn't go see Solo because of Last Jedi.
I was there. It was my birthday too.
Oh yeah.
It's so
I'm like, dude. Yeah. But Yeah, I'm like still kicking myself that I missed Drive on the big screen because that's one of my favorite films, like top 20 favorite films.
It's an amazing
And
movie.
it didn't play a lot of places, and I'd been so busy, but I was at a show in Nashville, convention down there, and it was playing down there, and I was planning on going that night, but when you do a show, it just whips your ass when you're working the show. Drove all the way to Nashville, set up, worked the show. I was gonna go see it that night. I was so tired, I just went to my hotel and went to sleep.
Well,
I couldn't go.
that was us when
I'm,
It Part 2 was coming out. I was my first convention. I went to the hotel room and I was dead, and I passed the fuck out. And we were supposed to go see a movie.
Well, that was the whole point of that. Was we were at the convention. It was a horror convention, HorrorHound 2019. It Chapter 2 came out the same week, and I was like, let's make this a bit even bigger event. The convention itself is an event, right? Well, It Chapter 2 was coming out, and it was going to be a big deal. We had the chance to go see it on that Friday night, opening night, and so we did, but it was a mistake. I was tired as fuck, and Garrett didn't even sleep that night.
I didn't sleep good at all.
That was my fault. We shared a room, and I was snoring. My brother-in-law, I think, was drunk, passed out on a cot, so
He was fine.
Because we get to
talk about.
He also didn't go to the movie because he was tired, like Keith.
Well, he made the right decision, so both of you did. Anyway, Jared, do you have anything you want to share before we move on to Rob Zombie's The Lords of Salem?
I mean, living where I live, there isn't a whole lot of.
You always seem to have to drive like an hour or so away.
If I want to go see something that is worth something, if it's not a major theatrical release, I
I'm
have
the
to
same
drive
way,
somewhere
Jared.
else.
I'm the same exact way. I got to drive like an hour or something if it's like a limited release thing.
Well, you live in a stick
Exactly.
cabin in the woods. He lives in.
I wanna move to fucking LA just to watch movies in the theater because I've seen 2 movies in LA, and I guess it's just the nature of it. They just appreciate film, I guess, because I saw Halloween 2018 when it opened in LA at the Cinema Dome on Sunset, and it was packed. And they actually shut the door. You are not allowed in once they shut the door. And an usher came out, introduced the film, talked about it, and everybody responded to the film, laughed, screamed, cheered, applauded. When it was over, it was a standing ovation, clapped for 5 minutes. It was a great experience. I had such a great time with it. And then the other one, I went down there for when I did the Leslie Vernon comic book. They did the signing of Dark Delicacies and had me out there signing it with Angela and David, the screenwriter, and Nathan was supposed to be there. He couldn't be there. And Ben, who was the cameraman in the movie, and Britton, who was the other guy in the movie, the 2 camera guys and the audio guy. And so we went watched that at the theater. They had a screening of it and a Q&A after, and it was right across from the Staples Center, downtown LA. And we were, I sat with them and we watched it. And I didn't know, like in the front row were like the Monster Squad, Andre Gower and Rand Lambert, and all them showed up to watch the movie and hang out. And it was the audience loved it. They just responded to the film, laughed, cheered, and it's like, I want to watch all my movies in LA. Because I mean, people were just involved in it. It wasn't just a thing to do. It was they wanted to be there.
Before we move on, I would love to see. I mean, the crowd was okay at our Halloween, but I'd love to see with a Halloween with a big engaged crowd because. The first time I saw Halloween, people were laughing at it, which really bugged me. The original Halloween, like some kids, I was in my mid-20s and they're laughing. Oh, this is so lame. I'm like, why are you here?
Yeah, I've dealt with that.
They had that same experience.
Chris Hall says, if you've never seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show at a midnight showing in full costume with an audience participation, throwing shit.
I've wanted to do that since I was a child.
You need to. Craziest theater experience ever. That sounds like fun. Not my thing. I don't like that movie, but that's right. I don't like something. Surprise, surprise.
But I'm glad your guys' Halloween experience is better than mine, because mine ruined that fucking movie for me. I had to go watch it again. The whole movie, there was these 2 people fucking talking the entire movie. And then it got to the end of the movie, and the guy pulls out his phone and starts recording the screen. And I'm just like, I'm just sitting there like fuming. Like, I can't pay attention to the movie. Like, I just want to stab him in the jugular.
My favorite recently was I saw It Chapter 2, we went, and it wasn't that crowded, but there was this black woman with her kids. I mean, the 3 kids with her that were all under 10. And they came and sat down. She goes, I'm just going to apologize, y'all, because I'm going to be talking, all right? And she's like, I love the first one, right? So she's watching it. In 10, 15 minutes, she's like, this is stupid as hell. I'm pissed. This is bullshit. This is stupid as hell. She's like, this ain't scary. Ain't scary. The whole movie. Just, I hate this shit. Let's go. She watched the whole movie, but the whole time she's like, this is dumb as hell. This sucks.
Okay, that would have annoyed me a lot more.
Yeah, I need to watch the movie again because I haven't seen it since then. But I was like, I'm so entertained by her.
Yeah, they ruined Halloween for me, and then I got outside and my freaking vape leaked in my pocket, so I was pissed about that. And then the next day I was off. I was like, fuck this, I'm going as early as I can. I'm watching it, and I was the only person in the theater. And I was like, thank God.
And sometimes that's nice.
That's
how
nice sometimes.
saw The Invisible Man, which was the last movie I got to see in the theater. There was almost nobody there. It was like I think it was 10:30 in the morning. And there was maybe 1 or 2 other people there. It was completely silent. I got to enjoy the movie. I like experiences where people are into it, but I also really do enjoy having the theater almost completely to myself. So
I feel like if it's a quiet type movie, I'd rather be by myself. But if it's an action-packed, in Avengers thing, I like a crowd.
God, that was such an experience.
What's the first movie or one movie you saw all by yourself? No one else was in it.
Oh, God. Mine was Miss March, if you even know what that movie is.
Smart. No, I don't think I...
It was...
is that the girl that was in Playboy or something like that?
It's a comedy. Yeah, I went to go see it, and I was literally the only person in the theater, and I was like, okay.
You were hoping for boobies the whole time, and it didn't give you anything.
Mine was Ed Wood.
Good movie.
Yeah, I love that movie. My favorite Tim Burton movie, and I was honest, the only one in the theater.
Batman Forever, because I went up there every day, just about. We had, I said, I think I told you guys, we had a dollar show right up the road from me, 3 or 4 blocks, the Lincoln, and it was $1. I had nothing to do all summer. I just walk up there and watch Batman Forever. I watched it all the time by myself, and maybe Forrest Gump, one of those 2. It's $1.
Mine would have been probably more recent.
Free popcorn.
Because it's hard to sit through long movies, but I think my most recent one that I sat by myself was The Revenant, and then I also did it again with The Hateful Eight, because they both came around the same time.
I'll tell you, last time I felt like I was sitting by myself at It Chapter 2. Jared over here, Mr. No Reaction. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
That shit wasn't scary.
Fuck this movie. I'm getting out of here. We're leaving. I just paid $80 for tickets, but whatever. Anyway, so I think the census here is we don't want theaters to close. Mm-mm. As far as I know, Marcus, the biggest one here, they're not closing. They sold popcorn in the parking lot. They pop popcorn, put it in bags and boxes and stuff. You can come pick it up for $5. It did really well.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Think about how movie theaters make money. How do they make money?
Definitely concessions.
Concessions. So, that's a genius thing. Sell your concessions that you have there if you can, and they did. They did a parking lot sale for 2 or 3 days. Got all their popcorn sold, and they did really well. I don't know if they did that, nationwide, but I thought that was I missed out. I got there too late. I was pissed. Here we go again with the kids.
We have butter left.
Yeah. I don't need that much butter. Anyway, yeah. So let's. You guys ready to move on? Talk about
before we completely move on. I'm going to cut you off.
Here we go. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I've honestly never been to too many movies that actually had fan participation, other than the Star Wars films that I saw in the theaters, where everybody would get excited when the big screen pops up. Star Wars. Everybody goes. Ah!
Yeah. That's such a great moment.
Jared, you literally sound like an 80-year-old man explaining Star Wars right now.
But my dad took my little brother and I to see Starship Troopers when it first came out, and we were way underage to see it. And every time anything huge happened, it was nothing like I've ever I don't remember when that movie came out. I was probably 12 or 13 when that movie came out.
97. Right?
Yeah, 97.
Yeah, so about 13. I was just shocked that people like yell when people get killed and like
we
it
didn't
was
want
just
Disney to die, okay?
See,
yeah,
that's
no.
that's my thing. Growing up, it was always you need to be quiet in the theater. You have to be quiet. And then like when I first had my first experience of like people reacting to the movie, like the
Well,
things I'm holding in.
that's different. That's totally different. They're talking about just having conversations and talking and like reacting is a whole that's something that you can almost not like. I was almost bawling at the end of Endgame, and I couldn't contain myself. If they would have kicked my ass out of that theater for that, I would have been like, "Come on!"
Don't worry, my fiance will not go to
Dying
comedy
inside.
movies with me, so
I just don't see comedies in the theater.
I snort real loud.
Anyway, so let's move on to the Lords of Salem, the 2012 Rob Zombie rom-com. That no, Seth has not seen. Have you seen 31?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Lords of Salem, it's about witches. That's pretty much what it is.
End of story.
End of story. So the next one is 31. Like the Running Man, but horror, right? And we'll see you next week.
Synapse done.
So I bought Lords of Salem. I was buying cheap end tables. So my furniture is all cheap because I've got kids who destroy everything. So I was buying these cheap end tables at Walmart, and I passed by and I saw it for like $8, and I'm like, oh, and the newer Rob Zombie movie. Picked it up, watched it while I was building some tables, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it from the get-go, and I was like, this might be one of my favorites. You know, of course, The Devil's Rejects is the best one, but I think this might be the one and yes, it is. It's the one I like the best out of all the movies after watching it again the other night. I really like the story, and the scene that I complained about last time where she's riding a goat wasn't as long as it seemed like it was when I watched it the first time. It seemed like it was 20 minutes of her going thrashing about on a goat, but it was only like a couple seconds. I really love them. I think I have a thing for witch stories. Because there's a lot of mythology in this. You know, they go back to the Salem witch trials. They have a great cast of characters. You know, I think Sherry Moon was great in this. I think this was one of her better roles, in my opinion. But the cast, Ken Foray's back. The witches themselves. You get Dee Wallace. First of all, she was being very sultry, which I got to be honest, I liked it.
She's the Blanche of the Golden Girls.
Yeah, exactly. She was, but I loved it. She was so good at it. Like I never thought of her as a sex symbol until she's almost 60. But I loved it. It was good, you know. And the characters and a lot of the imagery. There's a scene where she's looking at and it reminds me of the old Poison song. You know, you see the cross and it's fluorescent. And the old neon light used to read "Jesus saves." It actually says "Jesus saves." And Sherry Moon's just like entranced by it. I love the movie, and I like it way more than I did the first time or the second time this time around. A lot of the mythology surrounding the Salem witches that they bring up is so good. I mean, the song by the Lords, God damn it, now I want to call him Brad, what you called him. What's his name?
Bruce Davison.
Bruce Davis, there we go.
Yeah.
Bruce Davison, yeah. He was great. I loved it.
He's really good in it.
Yeah,
I like
really
him.
great performance from him, and he's good just about in everything he does that I've seen. But man, what a good movie! I think this is Rob Zombie's best movie, and everybody's going to disagree and say it's Devil's Rejects. And there's a lot more to this movie than I never saw this coming from a Rob Zombie. It gave me Roman Polanski feels, and I mean so many different influences I could see in this movie. I've had a Rosemary's Baby feeling like I did with Hereditary towards the end. I'm going to stop talking because I'm going to. Somebody else.
Rosemary and the Tenant, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
For Polanski, yeah.
I was gonna say I agree with you. It's my favorite Rob Zombie movie. This is only the second time I've watched it. I just watched it, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours ago. I hadn't seen it since it came out, I don't believe. But I was
It's
also
been 8 years too.
Yeah, like it sounds weird, but it's like the most non-Rob Zombie movie, but it's also my favorite, and I don't know if that's a bad thing.
I think it's because he didn't do his usual shock and awe type of movie.
Yeah, he really pushed the envelope with this.
Yeah,
one.
I mean, you see some Argento in there as well. There's a lot going into this movie, and I like it a lot more than I did 31 too. Surprisingly, maybe I'm a Rob Zombie fan, and I don't know it. Anyway,
Yeah, he was channeling a lot of, like you said, Argento, Polanski, but also um, Aliando Jorowski. There's a lot of like Holy Mountain type stuff in there. But also, he said that he
Going
described the
back.
movie.
He's going back with Jurowski.
Yeah, like he was talking about is this movie is if Ken Russell made if Ken Russell had directed the Shining, which is there's a lot of shining in there. Like that scene where the door opens, she's
Yeah.
down the hallway, and
yeah,
it's completely the Shining. Even the heartbeat sound score, and there's a lot of other things. There's definitely Kubrick completely.
absolutely, yes.
Like her bedroom looks like something out of Clockwork Orange with the lit up tables and the trip to the moon,
Well, her bathroom,
traffic on the back.
kind of the same way.
But Ken Russell meets Kubrick. I could see that. Like I haven't ever seen, was it The Lair of the White Worm? I haven't seen that one. But my favorite Ken Russell movie is The Devils with Vanessa Redgrave and Oliver Reed. If you guys haven't seen that, I highly encourage you. If you like witches, it's probably one of the best witch films ever made. But it's based on a true story of a priest in the 17th century who was kind of popular. He was kind of a celebrity priest in that village in France, and there was a coven, or like not coven, but the nuns that were there. A lot of them were like into him, and like one of them got jealous, and they wanted to get back at him. They wanted to give him trouble, so they pretended to be under Satan's influence. They started to act like they were possessed to get, and said that he was the one who is the cause of it, that he's dealing with Satan, like he's in a pact with Satan, and it's affected them. So he was executed for their lies. And Oliver Reed plays the priest, and it's an incredible film. Like it's one of those movies that I think it's finally been re-released because it was kind of hard to find for a while. I think it's available now. It was a 1971 film. It's one of the best horror films I've seen.
Can you repeat the title for the followers?
It's called The Devils.
The Devils, yes.
Ken Russell film. Yeah. And I see a little bit of that in there. I'm sure Rob was watching that as well.
Well, we talked about how big of a horror fan he is and a movie fan, so I'm sure.
And also some Fulci, I would imagine, is in there, because like some of those, like the priests and the surgeons, they kind of look like the House by the Cemetery kind of zombies. Yeah,
I could see that. Yeah, they looked like Freudstein.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot of influence, and it's kind of like the Void. Not in the same type of movie, but you could feel so many different influences in the movie, like the Void, which is one I want to talk about very soon because that's underrated, great movie. But yeah, man, this movie really kind of. I remember when I saw that, I was just more Rob Zombie bullshit. This was coming off of Halloween 2, you know. And I grew to not like Rob Zombie's work because of Halloween 2. I mean, I appreciated what I liked about the first two with House and Devil's Rejects, but I'm like, Halloween 2, I hated it so much, you know. I honestly can't wait to talk about those two again, though, because there are two versions of Halloween 2, and one's way better than the other. Anyway, but then I watched that. Even my wife, who did not like Rob Zombie movies, she liked it quite a bit. Lords of Salem, man, I think it's my favorite Rob Zombie movie, and Jeremy Tidwell agrees with me. No, Kevin West agrees with me.
Sorry, Jeremy.
No, I don't know what I'm doing.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to read comments and talk at the same time, and apparently I can't do that.
Jeremy said
I
it
did
is
grab
his
a bottle of
favorite.
water. There we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kevin West said that we should read the book Lords of Salem and then rewatch the movie, and it explains the movie a lot better.
Did he release the book? I know he wrote a novel for it, but I didn't know it was out.
I have no clue.
Yeah, there is a book.
I heard it's completely different than the film.
Maybe it explains more of like the lore. Maybe
that would be fine with me. That's when you watch a movie like Suspiria, which is one of Argento's best known movies, and some call his masterpiece. I'd argue with Deep Red, but excuse me, Jared. What is it called? Profondo Rosso. Anyway,
Profondo Rosso.
there we go. Inferno is a sequel or follow up to Suspiria, but it delves so deep into the mythology of the three mothers. If you don't know what that's about, there's three witches basically, and each movie is going to, Suspiria and Inferno, and then Mother of Tears was all playing out through all the witches. But Inferno went way deeper into the mythology, and I think that's part of the reason I like it more. Honestly, you could probably watch Inferno and Lords of Salem in a double feature, and it would probably work really well together. I think I'm in the minority in thinking that's one of Argento's best movies, but we're not talking about Argento.
No, but you could definitely, in the third act alone, like he definitely conjured his inner Dario Argento.
I believe so. Really impressed me for Rob Zombie because it was nothing like his other movies. I really changed my mind on the way I've been thinking about him as, the shock and awe guy of the fuck guy.
Yeah, it's more tame. It's not so overly sexual, even though there's tons of sexuality in it. Yeah. It's more of the seduction of the women and the horrors of Salem and all that stuff. But it's
Did you guys see Barbara Crampton was in there?
Mm-hmm. Was she in it?
Yeah, whenever they were playing the Lord's song over the radio, it shows this blonde lady, and I'm like, that looks like Barbara Crampton, and it's her old haircut from Reanimator. I'm looking closer, I pause, I'm like, that is Barbara Crampton, and sure enough, I looked it up. That was her. She's in it.
Sid Haig is also in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Rob Zombie. Come on, he's gonna be in every Rob Zombie movie.
I know, but he's just so hidden.
And there's a little more. The characters aren't so vile, I guess.
Yeah.
Like there's actually there's some tender moments in there, like when he meets with her, he's concerned about her maybe being back on drugs, and
they're like
when
normal
he calls her
people.
on the pier. Yeah, what the hell's going on? There wasn't enough Kinforia, I want to say, but I love their whole disc jockey. I wish there was more of the sessions. I like when they're playing the death metal song with the death metal guy. He says, "My mom lost her virginity to this song." But I enjoyed them. I wish there'd been a little more of the three of them instead of But another thing that gave me vibes was The Exorcist. A lot of times when she's walking around town, it reminds me of like Ellen Burstyn walking around Georgetown sometimes.
Yeah, I can see that.
The way it looks.
That scene when she's walking the dog and kind of the cemetery is almost Omen-esque. It reminds me of The Omen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of... He did a great job on this movie. I think it's
just symbolism driven. Yeah. There's not a lot of narrative. There's not a lot of. It's very much about imagery. It's that. It's he wanted to do something different, and he had total complete freedom, creative freedom on this film, and which was a big relief to him because the Halloween films are very controlled.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have complete freedom on those films. So this was, and it was, I think his lowest budget. I think it was like a $1.3 million budget. It is the first film on digital. I guess everything before that was on film, and there's not one digital effect in the film. There's no CGI
really?
At all. Yeah,
that's impressive.
Yeah. Sorry.
What?
I was gonna say all the creatures they're very different and like original compared to most every time any other thing I watch. Like when there's a monster, it usually reminds me of something else. Like all the monsters in this like didn't remind me of anything else I could think of.
It's because you haven't watched enough Fulci.
We got to mention Meg fucking Foster, man, because Meg always creeps me out. Like she's always creeped me out. Just those pale blue eyes of hers. But like in this movie, terrifying.
Yes. I kept thinking that. That's I messaged you guys and I was like, man, Meg Foster is out of her fucking mind. I mean, Jesus, she was fantastic in this role.
Yeah, she's always been Evil Lynn to me until like the last few years.
I love the use of Velvet Underground's music quite a bit of that in here, and it's just they use a lot of those kind of tripping type Velvet Underground songs where you just want to chill out, mellow.
Chill out songs, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another good soundtrack too. Just overall another good soundtrack. I think I don't remember Halloween as well. I guess I need to watch it again. But even like Devil's Rejects and 31 has a pretty good sound. He's put some pretty good soundtracks together on the last few movies.
Halloween's got a really. I love the first Halloween. There's got
Rush.
God of Thunder by Kiss starts the movie out, and it's got some good stuff.
I don't remember.
The Rush and.
I forget when I turn that off. I turn off my brain and forget about it. So.
The music he puts, Rob Zombie put in this, I feel like Rob Zombie like put it all together. He's like, somebody's gonna trip acid and watch this movie, and they're gonna flip the fuck out.
I wonder. Like when I was watching, was it 31? I think I was wondering if while he's filming, if the song comes to mind right away, like. You know what song would be great for this scene? And
I know he said that Sherry picked "Dream On" for the finale of 31. I did hear that.
Oh God. Well, 31. Yeah. So let's get on that in a second. Do we have anything else we want to say about the Lords of Salem other than it gets my highest recommendation? Go see it. 4 stars out of 4. Joe Bob says, check it out. It even has boobs. A lot of boobs in it.
I love the scene with the priest. His delivery of that, like there's a war waging in heaven between Michael's angels and the beast or the dragon, and he I can't remember what he says, but his performance in
that scene. That scene and then the 3 priests sitting in the chair, those right there gave my fiance like, what in the fuck's happening?
Yeah, I think
she was like, what?
I think Rob Zombie did it with this.
We don't run that for Seth.
Don't worry. I think Rob Zombie did it with this one. I do think this is his finest movie. It shows more range for him as a director, as a filmmaker.
I was excited. I didn't love it. I mean, I saw it in theaters. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. But what I felt was, okay, he's done with that shit that he's done.
No, he's not.
And no, he wasn't. He went right back to it.
I feel like it's because like Ray was saying, the Halloween 2 thing. I feel like people were just like, it's Rob Zombie, and that sucks because I feel like this movie could have got a lot more attention, and he would have probably kept doing that.
I think you're exactly right in saying that. I think there can be a stigma if something's as hated as Halloween 2 is. It is. There are some apologists or whatever, some people who do like it, and that's fine. But like this, how do you follow up a movie that everybody hates? How are you going to get people in, butts in the seats to see something after you made something that is universally, for the most part, hated? Look at Solo.
Well, yeah, especially with fandom. I mean, they're
absolutely
so rabid. You make one little tiny mistake and they're gonna crucify
fuck you forever. I don't care what you did. I'll forget that you gave us Han Solo and Chewbacca and R2-D2 and Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and blah blah. I didn't like the prequel, so fuck you, George Lucas. You suck forever. What? He gave us Indiana Jones. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the fans are the reason that Disney owns Star Wars. George said something about what do you say when people say bad things to you or talk bad about your stuff, you don't want to do it anymore. And I don't know. We're gonna have to do something about Star Wars eventually because I got so many things to say about Star Wars. Obviously, my favorite thing in the world, other than my kids. Come on. Anyway, but the Lords of Salem, I'm really happy I got the chance to watch it again because it's been a while, and I'm glad we're doing these episodes because I'm really opening up to realizing I'm a Rob Zombie movie fan. I like his music too, but I really do like his movies, and I'm gonna stop rolling my eyes every time I see a Rob Zombie thing pop up on Facebook. Maybe I roll my eyes at everything. So, but let's get to 31 if you guys like. Or you want to save it for October because it takes place on Halloween.
It's fresh in my mind.
Yeah,
I'm joking. We're gonna have a big show. It's gonna be beautiful.
Needs something to talk about.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be wonderful, and everybody's gonna thank the Horror Syndicate for doing a Halloween Rob Zombie show. It's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna make everybody happy. But 31 was a crowdfunded movie. that came, what did it come out in 15 or 16? I can't remember. I think it was
I
15.
think it's 15.
Um, okay, so I bought it from Family Video. Love Family Video. Nate loves Family Video too. Um, come on, after today, you love it, right?
Yeah, I love like when I moved here because we didn't have one in Louisville, and I moved here. I was like, holy shit, we got a video store here, and
Yeah.
it's still open.
It's
So
another thing where we may have to talk about one day is the lost, you know, generations and not getting this generation not getting to go to the video store. But anyway, I bought it because it was like $2. I'm like, okay, I need to see this. This is, the last Rob Zombie movie that's been made, and I got about 30 minutes in. I'm like, this no. I pushed it off. Didn't watch it again until last night, and you know what? I loved it. I really loved it. And I didn't like Sickhead, the midget guy. I didn't like him.
I thought he was fun.
I did. I like
So
him.
much energy.
He
He
was
was one of
super
my-
annoying. He was super
Here's one
annoying
of
to
my
me.
favorite things about it.
Yeah, well, once you got beyond him, I really started enjoying it. And one of the things I liked about the movie this time around was the character introduction with the whole whatever they were, circus crew or whatever. I really liked just the 10, 15 minutes of bullshitting together.
Mm-hmm.
The guy trying to sell his
Gorilla.
his gorilla thing, and getting to meet every character so you could try to care about them whenever it came to the 31.
Actually,
Yeah, there was some good character exposition at the beginning.
Absolutely. And I don't know, I liked it a lot better. I liked pretty much all the characters. Even I don't know what the Death Father or something like whatever Malcolm McDowell's role was. The aristocrat, the old French looking whatever. That was weird, but I kind of liked it. It reminded me of The Purge a little bit. Somebody commented and said it's Rob Zombie's take on The Running Man, which is very interesting to think about.
Sorry, I'm not trying to.
No, you go
cut
ahead.
off.
Go ahead, buddy.
I thought it was kind of a weird mix, like you said, with like their comment, The Running Man mixed with The Purge, mixed with Saw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we started watching it, my fiance was like, so this is pretty much Saw and the Hunger Games put together.
Mm.
I was like, I mean, I guess.
I've heard Battle Royale thrown out too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it felt like I never put it together, but it felt like my first movie, Girl Number 3, because it was set on Halloween. A bunch of girls are kidnapped by some guys, taken to an abandoned building. They're put in a ritual. There's a guy that gives a speech like Malcolm McDowell. They all have numbers. Your girl number 1, your girl number 2, your girl number 3. And I was like, holy shit. And it's on Halloween. Wait a minute.
God,
that was
makes it stop
2000.
ripping
He
people
stole
off.
your idea.
That was 2009, my friend. Okay.
I know, but I bet when you realized that was the first thing that popped in your mind.
But yeah, I didn't like the movie the first time I saw it, but I enjoyed it the second time when we watched it this weekend. I just absolutely love the opening with Break.
Yes.
Doomhead, like
Yes.
that scene where he's talking to the screen was just I just loved like the line where he says, all in all, you had a pretty good run, but deep down inside you must have known it had to end somewhere. Might as well be here. Might as well be right now. And it might as well be with me. Like, fuck.
He doesn't blink at all. I was like, how are you doing this?
That one moment he did it, I was like, he is not blinking at all until he lights a cigarette.
Yeah.
Or a cigar. He does not blink. And I kept thinking about, Michael, I think it was Michael Caine said that, like, bad guys, intimidating, scary, in control guys don't blink. That's an acting thing. If you're nervous and weak, you blink. If you're in control, you don't blink. So that was probably, and it did. It made,
I don't
he's
get
in
how you
control.
could do that. But no, yeah, that was the thing I was going to mention about 31. Is I love the whole opening sequence. I love the way it's shot. Like it looks like the structure is turned down on the footage or something, because it's very poppy and like all the details and like dirt and grime and everything pops out on him.
Yeah. And I absolutely, like, my favorite part of the movie, other than that, is when he comes back and he's pumping himself up and he's punching himself in the face. He's like, I'm not crazy, I'm in control. I'm not fucking crazy, I'm in control. Like, Holy, that guy's terrifying to me.
He is crazy. That's the bit. He's like, I'm not a fucking clown. No, yeah, he's probably the best. I think he's the best thing about the entire movie almost. Even though
Yeah.
he needed. I wish he had more screen time, to be completely honest.
No, it was
He's
perfect.
the Jesse Ventura of Running Man, though, right? He's the one they call in to come in and like the other guys can't get the job done.
Very true. Yeah.
I like he's.
I wasn't planning on working this year.
Yeah, he's banging that chick. He's like, I wasn't planning on working this year.
Who was
Ginger,
that? Oh, that was Mr. Mind Your Fucking Business.
Mind your own fucking business. Yeah, he was good. Way better than he was in 3 from Hell. That's for sure. Seth, did you see this one?
Yeah, I did.
Well, let's hear it. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so last time I actually was watching a marathon of Rob Zombie movies was in November. I think around the time 3 from Hell came out, and I ordered the Blu-ray, but I never got around to watching it. I've heard a lot of things about it being Rob's worst movie, and I think that kind of stuck with me, and so I just kind of put it off a little bit. But when I watched it the other night, the opening scene, like you guys were talking about, I just love. I love Richard Brake anyway. He's good in everything, I think. And that whole scene, I was like, oh, I might actually like this. I tend to disagree with a lot of people on certain movies, maybe because I have shit taste. I don't know. But
or better taste.
Yeah. But so I was starting to enjoy it, and then at first I didn't really care for the main characters. I didn't like the way they interacted, and I felt like the first act almost sort of like condensed House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects together. There was a lot of similar stuff in there. Especially when the van comes across all the scarecrows in the road. It was very similar to in House of a Thousand Corpses when they're trying to leave the Firefly place. Mm-hmm. But after when things started getting going, I started enjoying it again, and I liked it. I didn't, like I said, I think my only problem was the first act, but I liked the way it ended too. I liked Aerosmith playing and Richard Brake and Sherry Moon looking like they're going for a showdown, and then it just ends there.
Yeah, Mexican standoff.
Yeah. I think my only Go ahead.
I love when the close up of her fist clasping.
Yeah,
that part. Love
that.
That.
Same here. I think
she's not gonna go down without a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was cool too because the music kind of enhanced that. It kind of pumped me up a little bit. But my only complaint that I have about it, I think, kind of makes me seem like a hypocrite because last week we talked about It Follows and how ambiguous it was and how I like those type of films where you don't need to explain everything. But with this film, I felt like a little bit more needed to be explained about the ritual of 31 and what's going on. I wish I had a little bit more detail with that.
Yeah, it's gonna be blanketed over. Like there's the characters, the Malcolm McDowell and the people. Like nothing happens to them. There's no comeuppance. There's nothing. Right. Like they just disappear and they go home or whatever. It's like like I said, it's like there's no point.
I feel like they're trying to put you though in like the perspective of the captors. Like they don't know what the fuck's going on. They don't know what the hell 31 is or any of these people. Yeah. I think it's supposed to make you confused like they are maybe. But I get what you're saying.
I get that, and I like that for the most part when films do that. I'm a huge, Carpenter fan, and so I feel like a hypocrite for having that complaint with this movie. But this was a movie where I wanted a little bit more. To me, it almost seemed like he filmed the first draft of a script, and there was potential there for this. This probably could have been one of his best movies, with a little bit more time.
Yeah, I'm with Seth on the characters. I did not like any of them as far as when I watched that opening scene, I'm the opposite of you guys because I was like, every moment is a foul mouthed joke to them. There's like 2 dick jokes in like 1 minute, and like, hey, my dick and your dick, and it's like every conversation is about fucking. Every conversation is sex. Even to the point where they go to the gas station and Sherry Moon Zombie grabs Tracy off his dick and then all of a sudden here comes E.G.
That's Bob the Goon
Daly.
too.
Here comes, Pee Wee Herman's little girl coming up like, hey, I mean, it's like everything.
But that set that up for later.
That mattered. That mattered.
Yes,
all
that
the
mattered.
stuff, he walks in on two people having sex, and then they have time to stop and let's tell a little Johnny joke all of a sudden. It doesn't make any sense. It's like that's all it was. It was constant that, and I'm like, I want to see a variety here. I'm not like, are these a bunch of middle-aged? And then the part that I remember when I watched the first time, and it's the part where Meg Ryan's sitting there with the two girls in the car, and she's like, sucky, sucky, fucky, sucky. I'm like, what is this bullshit?
That was dumb.
So awful. This is just so awful.
I think that was them actually like trying to like play out the show they were going to be doing.
Yeah,
it just you get the vibe that they actually had like a road show.
Yeah, I just found it like I don't care for any of these people. I don't, and the thing I also brought up in the conversation, I like Sherry in the movie, love her look in the film, I love the costume and all that, but I don't think she has an arc in the film because from the get-go she's badass. Like the first time she kills someone, she doesn't have any response to killing someone. I get it, maybe she comes from the streets, maybe she has a history, but listening to Sherry talk about the character, she said she didn't. Like she just rises to the occasion. But I'm like, but there doesn't seem to be an arc. Like,
yeah, it's just like a switch gets flipped.
Yeah, like the rest of them seem more frightened than she is the whole movie. Like she's ready to whip ass the whole movie. I'm like, I wish I don't know.
I don't know. It kind of made me question her background a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're right. Everybody was terrified, and although the I can never remember the guy's name, the guy with the mustache and number 3 in the movie, like I thought he was an interesting character, and I really ended up liking him quite a bit, especially the scene under the circus tent or whatever when they find the girl that's under the blow-up doll and everything, and he's like, "Nope, we're gonna fucking leave her here," and all that. I really like that. Was a really fun scene too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that guy. This is just real quick, but that guy looks like he could play like a young version of Captain Spaulding. There's just something about his face when I was watching that movie. I'm like, I could see a little bit of like Sid Haig in his face.
Didn't he play the warden in Three?
He was the warden. Yeah. He was in Disc Jockey in Salem, Lords of Salem.
I like him actually quite a bit.
He looks like Rob Zombie to me. That's what
he does. Well, that's funny you say that because going back to Lords of Salem, I'm watching and I'm like, is he supposed to kind of portray a Rob Zombie-ish type of guy? With his, he kind of looks like him a little bit, but no, I like that scene with the two clowns with the chainsaws, and I don't know. I thought this was an interesting movie. It's definitely a ripoff of a lot of things, and I don't think this is by far one of his best movies. I like it a lot better than I did before, and I'll definitely watch it again. I would say if I ranked his movies right now, I'd say this is probably number 6.
Yeah,
for me.
That'd probably be with me too. It's not. I don't love it, but there's things I like about it. I like the opening. I love the ending. I love the whole. Just anything with Doomhead, like his speeches and everything, and the way he just moves himself is great.
His speech fucked him up in the end, though.
It did.
You know why you smoke a cigarette? It's like, dude, you're gonna miss out on your time, and it happened.
I just love it though. He's like, I always thought I'd look pompous with a pipe, so I don't smoke.
With a pipe, yeah.
I love that he's dressed like.
I don't think he really cared.
Yeah.
What's that stuff?
Oh, I was gonna say I don't think that character really cared about the rules, though. I don't think he cared about the fact that he was taking all that time. Because obviously he still tracks her down in the end, even though the whole thing's supposed to be over. So I think him monologuing didn't really matter to him because either way he was going to get her.
I wonder if he got paid though. You remember they were like double? He said double the pay. If he doesn't finish him off, does he get paid?
Well, that main guy did say that like we have a winner, and she's like, "What are you going to do with her?" And he was like, "I'll figure that." Yeah, but he said he'd figure it out. So he might have just been like, "Yeah, just go kill her."
He took his wig off and fucking went back to his normal life. Went and had breakfast, and he went back to his normal life. He's just gonna let her go, and Doomhead went out and probably killed her. Who knows? I don't know. It's better than I thought it was originally because I didn't watch it all the way. Couldn't get past the little guy. Uh, Oddly enough, Jeremy Tidwell says I felt it lingered too long on Poncho's character. It was like it was a lot of screen time, and it feels like some other characters shortchanged. You know what? I feel the same way.
I
I
remember
really
feeling that.
like E.G. Daly's character, Sexhead. Those two characters barely got any screen time versus that Poncho guy. That was too much. I didn't.
E.G.
care for
Daly
Poncho.
kind of felt like a white trash Harley Quinn.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
she was
remember.
awesome.
I remember kind of nodding off when the whole Poncho character was like doing his thing, and then waking up and going, "Jesus, he's still on here. He's not dead."
Yeah,
So it takes a long time for him to.
That's why I
get
turned it
killed.
off.
Yeah.
But I do like him. But
What about the scene where they have dinner?
eh,
Nah, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't do much
It was
for me.
okay.
I like
Yeah.
the
It was expected. That's what I was gonna say.
what is the girl's name we just called White Trash Harley Quinn? Sex, isn't that her name?
Sexhead.
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 I do like the scene with the strobe lights and stuff. Like she looks fucking freaky in the strobe light because her smile keeps disappearing, and I think that's the most intense freaking strobe light scene I've seen in a movie because it is like intensely fast and was fucking with my head. But I also saw this in theaters, so
I didn't even know it went to theater.
yep, it had a very limited release, and my dad was like, "We have to go see this," and I'm like, "Okay."
All right, let's play a game.
Oh god.
Okay.
Is it
And you
31?
watching, if you're out there, rank the Rob Zombie movies. I guess there's what? There's The House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, Halloween, Halloween 2.
Halloween 2, the director's cut, completely
Lords
different.
of, yeah, that's true. But let's just keep it at Halloween 2. Lords of Salem,
It's a
31,
different
and
ranking
then
for me.
3 from Hell. I know it's going to be difficult for Seth because he hasn't seen 2, but you start with the ones you've seen.
Oh, probably say number 1 would be Devil's Rejects. Number 2 would be
Don't you say it.
Halloween.
Ah, you said it. Go ahead.
Number 3 would be Halloween 2. I like that movie.
You just have a boner for Michael Myers. That's all there is to it.
Well, I mean,
Let's face it.
it's a very fun movie. I have a lot of issues with it.
Let's talk about your infatuation with Busta Rhymes versus Michael Myers.
It was a very
Next
epic
showtime.
scene. Well acted. I feel like he was snubbed by the Oscars.
I do too.
Seth just
Alright,
likes
go
a
ahead,
man in coveralls.
So, I guess House is the last one then.
Yeah, House then 31.
Okay, Jared, what about you? Can you do this?
I'm gonna do. I said it the other night. I like House better than Devil's Rejects, so it'll be House, Devils, then Lords of Salem,
Mm.
his Halloween, 31 after that. What else am I missing?
Halloween 2.
Halloween 2
and
is the
3 from Hell.
last. Halloween
Well,
2
three-
is my last.
What about 3
Well-
from Hell? Where's that rank?
3 from Hell will probably rank later than Halloween 2.
Okay. Keith, it's your turn.
Lords of Salem, Devil's Rejects, Halloween. House of a Thousand Corpses. 3 from Hell, 31, Halloween 2.
All right, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
You're fast at these. Come on.
Yeah, you're the.
My number 1 is Halloween. My number 2 is The Devil's Rejects.
Wait. Your number 1's Halloween for real?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
doing that to get something out of me? Come on. You're trying to work me out. Come on.
I like it.
I do too.
Number 3, Halloween 2, only the director's cut, not the theatrical cut. Sorry, I hate those theatrical cut.
What were they thinking releasing that one? That's my. Go ahead.
They cut all the heart out of it.
Yeah, they did. They really did.
Number 4, I'll go with Lords. 5, House of Thousand Corpses. 6, Devil. 3 from Hell, and 31.
I'm gonna start with worst to first. Halloween 2, period. Now I'm gonna come back to that when I revisit it again in 2000 or in 2000. It's from 2009. I'm gonna revisit it in
October.
2009, late in October. Thank you. But Halloween 2, and I would say 31. Then Halloween. Now this is worst to first because that's how I do it. Um, so Halloween 2, 31, Halloween, 3 from Hell, uh, The Devil's Rejects, House of Thousand Corpses, and Lords of Salem. I really like Lords of Salem. The House of Thousand Corpses is just so fucking weird, and the closest thing to a Texas Chainsaw Massacre that Rob Zombie will ever do, and I loved it immediately. Like I I love Devil's Rejects and everything, and I let Otis. It's all about Otis for me. Otis is my favorite character that Rob Zombie has ever created, but I really, really liked House, and he was when he comes downstairs and his first scene that you see him in, when he comes downstairs and the way Mother Firefly reacted was, God,
I just
you don't go
I just
ahead.
wish he had a better. I just wish he had a better opening line though. It's a bad, weird line. Like it's like I know what it
Yeah,
is about that you want to know about, or something.
yeah,
It's a
it
bad,
is.
a bad line.
But his character's so great, and through the three movies, he is the iconic character. Even though we talked about Captain Spaulding, I think Otis is more iconic than Captain Spaulding. Spaulding's got more of the look of a horror figure with the clown makeup and all that. But anyway, I love Lords of Salem. I think it's underrated. Jeremy Tidwell did his list for us. Number one, Lords of Salem. God bless you, sir. Uh, Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses, Three from Hell, Halloween, Halloween, Halloween 2. And then he says, sorry, Halloween and Halloween 2 are last.
I guess
He's got
5 is supposed
Halloween
to
in
be
there.
31. I guess
Yep, 31 probably is one of them.
5. I'm
he's
fine
Halloween
with.
number two in.
he's convinced me. I'll change.
Yeah.
No, we're all different. I did want to do the Rob Zombie quotes. I wrote some of his quotes down. Can y'all still hear me? Because I don't
Yeah.
hear anything.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Ray's talking.
Sorry, I had to mute my mic.
Okay. Because we talked about like last week about how he doesn't give a shit about things, and he's very very open about it, and he's very. I find myself when I listen to him talk, I see a lot of myself in him sometimes when I hear him talk. I agree with a lot of things he says, and so I was like, I want to share some of his quotes and talk about these quotes. I mean, I could say a quote, you guys could discuss it. But these were just some I found, and a lot of it goes to because look, there's no one. You want to start a fight on a horror group, you mentioned Rob Zombie. Period. There's like no, there's not one more. There's nothing bigger of a trigger than Rob Zombie, especially when you talk about his Halloween movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that meme of that guy holding his breath is like for I hate Rob Zombie's Halloween. I mean, that's what it should say all the time because they're like in the last since 2007, people are still bitching about it and bitching about him. And I kind of look at it this way. Nicholas Winding Refn, when he showed Only God Forgives at Cannes, got a standing ovation and half the crowd booed him. And he looked at it as a success. And he said,
movie.
that's a success because really art is supposed to make you react in many ways. And it doesn't matter if it's, to me, the worst reaction for an artist towards their art is I don't feel nothing. I'm indifferent. Let's go get tacos. Like no one talks about it. But if you fucking hate my work
I
or you
say
fucking
that all
love
the
my work,
time.
but that's
That's
what?
exactly what I said after I saw Confessions. I was like, let's go get tacos.
Go get tacos, did you?
No.
That's what I wanted. But no, like the whole meh thing, like
Yeah,
that's
meh.
the worst.
Yep.
That's the worst thing you could say about a piece of art. But if you really, it's like, so an artist would rather you be just totally in anger and enraged about their film than just feel like, it was all right, and leave. So like he does that. Like if he didn't accomplish something, no one would talk about Halloween. If he didn't accomplish things, so the fact that people are still talking about him negatively or positively means he got a reaction out of people, and that's kind of the point. But like, at the same time, we can't satisfy everybody. So these are some of his quotes that I just what I respect about him is he says, "You can't make everyone happy right away. You can't figure out what people want you to do. You just have to do what you want to do and hope it works out." Which is true. You can't cater to everybody. You can't make what they want. You have to make what you want. And I guarantee you there are going to be people who like it. And there's going to be a whole lot of fucking people who don't. And that's just how it is. And he understands that. And that's why he doesn't give a shit. It doesn't matter. I'm going to make my art and you can like it or you don't. There's turn the channel. Go watch something else. But people feel so entitled now. Hey, I went and saw that movie. You owe me to, again, like I said, tickle my scrotum. And you didn't tickle my scrotum, so I want my money back. But then they go see the next movie so they can be the first on Facebook to say it sucks. Everybody who hates on him goes to see all of his movies.
Yeah, it's
Continue
true.
to see his movies. If I don't like a filmmaker, I don't fucking watch their movies.
I'm gonna make a soundbite out of you saying
like
"tickle
them.
my scrotum," just so you know.
There are filmmakers who I do not care for. Their work is never good, and I do not watch their movies. I'm not even gonna talk about them because I don't want to subject you all to it. But when you have too many people and you're trying to satisfy everybody's input, you usually end up with something so incredibly generic that it has no point of view. What do you think?
It's true. I agree with what you said. When I was muted talking to my daughter, she needed a blanket. Okay. I agree with his attitude. I like his attitude, and I do like listening to Rob Zombie talk about filmmaking or whatever. He's actually comes off as highly intelligent, also. But yeah, I agree. I just agree. That's all. I don't like Halloween. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, same here.
He owes me like $12. No.
No, I agree. I like Rob Zombie's attitude too, because it's sort of the attitude I wish I could have.
You do have that attitude. You don't give a fuck about anything.
Well, for the most part, except for like the stuff that I create, like anything I write or anything I paint or draw, I'm my own worst critic, and I get myself really down. I wish I had like just a fraction of Rob Zombie's confidence. Yeah. And I respect any artist who's confident enough to just keep doing it. Like, you don't like my movie, I don't care. I'm gonna keep doing what I love to do.
And I think it's something that it comes as you keep going. Like, I'm sure at the beginning Rob was the same way, but he's been doing it for 85 was when White Zombie started.
He's 85.
1985.
No, I'm joking.
So he's been in the public eye for 30 plus years, and he's dealt with all the criticism. He said people called White Zombie the worst fucking band of all time. And, so he's dealt with his whole career. So after a while, you learn to not give a shit about anything, positive or negative reviews. You don't read reviews. It doesn't matter. You get to that point where you're like, I don't care. And you just said something like that here. The funny thing is, I'm so used to not caring what anyone says, good or bad, that unfortunately, even when people say good things, I wish it made me feel good, but it doesn't. And it's true. I mean, you'd be having like 20 people tell you you're amazing or whatever, and then like one guy says you suck, you're like, fuck you. Like you did all amazing stuff. So you have to get away where you just don't listen at all to any of it.
Yeah, that's also a comment of a rock star too.
You see the comment that just popped up on Facebook? Kevin P. West, tickle my scrotum. Nathan Thomas Milliner.
Trademark. People have this delusion that everything has to be for everybody at all times. Every album must be liked by everybody, and every TV show must be liked by everybody, and every movie must be liked by everybody. Everything then becomes bland. Yeah. And it goes into like everybody wants everything to be catered to them, or I need to like it, or it shouldn't exist. Like, I didn't like that movie. that guy should never be allowed to make movies again. Like, fuck you, dude. Like,
Yeah,
that
Ryan
doesn't
Johnson.
have to be for you. But that's the thing. It's like people hold these. Again, I've said that. I've been to conventions. People adore Rob Zombie and his movies. They worship. You've got this. Or you say his movies always are popular on Horror Syndicate when you do votes. He has a fan base, but there are people who like they're so committed to what their opinion is that they can't even fathom that exists, and they won't even acknowledge it. And that, to me, you can't. You got to learn to realize, look, I'm just not his customer, but there's a whole lot of people out there who are, and he knows that, and that's why he doesn't give a shit, because he knows that his fans are going to support him. They're going to watch his movies, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter everybody who hates
even his
it.
haters are gonna watch his movies.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, I still watched movies after Halloween 2. I was like, after I saw Halloween 2, I was like, motherfuck, I'm never gonna watch another Rob Zombie. Here comes Lords of Salem. Ooh, the next Rob Zombie movie's out.
I know you posted one quote on your Facebook that I felt immediately. I can't.
Yeah.
Was it motherfucker? Fuck this.
Yep, that was it. No, it was and we've talked about this before. He says, I always wonder, the images that hit your brain when you're young are so significant because there's not that much information in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
As you get older, things just bounce off. I can remember these minute details of stupid TV shows from the 70s, and I can't remember a book I read yesterday. I think that's true. Like, people hold such regards to the 1980s, the 70s, and they think everything now is all derivative and a ripoff and unoriginal. But the thing is, all that shit was derivative and unoriginal as well. But you were 5, you were 6, you were 7. You didn't know what those things were inspired by. You hadn't read the Tales from the Crypt comics and seen the Universal horror movies and the exploitation movies of the 60s, and you didn't know that those films were coming from other things that you just had no experience with yet because you were young. Everything is new and fresh to you. Just like Hannibal Buress talking about, I discovered Jimi Hendrix because Hulk Hogan came out to him at WCW. Like, I thought it was new, you know, and he didn't realize where it came from, but it's at the same time. So, you know, when people talk about things today, it just doesn't hit them as much because you're jaded, you've experienced more, and you're far more judgmental, and things just don't stick with you. Images, like, remember, like, there's images from our childhood, from like paintings, album covers, you know, the toy packaging that we had when we were kids, like those images, Garbage Pail Kids, whatever it was, they're staying on your brain. I mean, I hold, like, Garbage Pail Kids, I got those, like, those images are big. They're not like the greatest artwork in the world, but they mean something because they were impressionable at an impressionable time. I was in 4th grade when those damn things came out. Derek Riggs' Iron Maiden album covers, Drew Struzan's movie posters, and all these things. These things are stained, and they're great artists today. They're great filmmakers, great musicians, great everything. But if you've lived 40 years and you just don't get the same impression on you that you did then. It takes a lot more getting through. That's why we love so many shitty movies still from our childhood, because we didn't think they were shitty. But now we're far less forgiving. If you take a movie that was actually kind of bad from the 80s and you saw it today, you wouldn't even watch it again. But you're
correct.
Yeah.
You're correct. Because time and time again, last year when I was doing my 500, I experimented with movies like The Mausoleum that I'd never seen before. I bet if I saw it when I was younger, I would have loved it. By the way, I am sorry for laughing in the middle of your speech. Chris Hall just sent me something that made me laugh. He says, piggybacking off what you said about not everyone. Okay, he says, not everyone likes pussy. No one goes around saying pussy shouldn't exist. That made me laugh. Anyway, Rob Zombie's right on a lot of things in a lot of ways. I definitely agree with a lot of what you're saying about what he's saying.
Oh, this one reminds me of something you were talking about, Ray, the other day.
Oh no.
There are always tons of names on a movie of people that didn't actually do anything on that film. I feel bad for the people that busted their ass because they get the same credit as someone who did nothing. It's kind of a weird thing.
It's true. Why are there so many names on some of these movies that they didn't do anything? I don't understand
I
it.
produced that movie.
That's why I'm trying to get a producer credit on the next Marvick joint. So, Nate, come on, we're friends. Can I get a producer credit? I'll share your stuff.
Donate $25 and
no, I shared it.
That should producer. You shared my post.
Actually, that reminded me when I watched Lords of Salem, I realized that Jason Blum actually produced that, which I didn't know.
I saw it in one or two.
Mm-hmm.
Ray, you looked at the title credits?
And that
I was a kid when I didn't look at the titles. Okay, come on.
I thought you were still a kid at heart.
No, I'll be 40 next time we do a show.
So that would have been before Jason Blum started Blumhouse.
No, I don't think so. That can't be right.
It doesn't say it's a Blumhouse release, but it is.
It's not, but I'm pretty sure Blumhouse was around at that point.
I don't remember when Blumhouse started, so.
Well, Insidious.
He worked for another company before he started his own.
Yeah, Blum was a producer on Lords, right?
Yeah.
Was it Miramax that he worked for?
Yeah, I think he did work for the Weinsteins.
Did you say Remax?
Miramax.
Blumhouse has been around since 2000.
Which I saw a post this week about that. People were talking about how shitty Blumhouse is, and I'm sorry, guys, but
you're wrong.
He has found a way to make films that feel big for very little money, which offers a lot of opportunity for artists to make original stuff. That's why we get what we get from them.
He doesn't want to make a movie over $5 million generally.
Yeah, and he's got like they did that. Did you see that round table at the Oscars where Ridley Scott was sitting at the table with them, and Jason was talking about how much their movies cost, and Ridley's like, because you do it non-union. And he said, no, they're union. He said, and he told them, and Ridley Scott, who's been in this business forever, could not fathom how Jason's doing what he's doing, how he's making these movies and getting it made. And that's the thing. It's like he is kind of the Roger Corman of this era, but he's making films bigger than Roger did.
Better too.
And what happens is people fixate on the ones they don't like the jump scares of the teen PG-13.
Because they make a lot of money though.
Yeah, they make a lot of money, but it's like they act like that's the only thing they do, and it's like no, they made a lot of rated R films, a lot of great films.
I could do a Blumhouse bracket.
Yeah, I mean, and then also other films outside of the genre, like what's the one, Whiplash.
Whiplash is great,
amazing film. So he is good for the genre. He is making these low cost films that are making a shitload of money, which means more opportunities for creative, original artists to make films. You can't And the sequel, again, bitch about sequels. Sequels pay for other films. He can make Insidious 5 and pay for Get Out and Us.
Yeah.
And
that's what I was about to
Halloween.
mention. All the movies people hate, like they don't realize they made a fuck ton of money. That's more money they have to put towards something else that might be bigger.
No, nobody knows how business works.
Everybody knows how business works.
Can you make a figure of this very obscure character from this 70s TV show that only 5 people have heard of?
Yeah.
So,
why don't they remake movies that sucked the first time? Because they made no money the first time. Yeah. Can't polish a turd, You just get David Mamet to write a script on Sleepaway Camp, and it's going to be a better movie.
Leave Sleepaway Camp out of this.
All right.
Plan 9 from Outer Space. Make it make sense.
Yeah. Okay.
What movie? Plan 9?
Yeah.
Oh no, leave that alone too. Come on. Just the best part about Plan 9 from Outer Space is getting to watch Ed Wood.
I was gonna say that's the second Ed Wood reference we've had tonight.
That's true. But tell me something way off topic. But seeing Ed Wood in the '90s, didn't that make you want to, one, be a filmmaker, two, see Plan 9 from Outer Space, and see what the fuck this movie was? Ed Wood's a great movie.
Yeah, it's one of
Anyway,
the greatest, in my opinion. Top.
what?
One of the best of the '90s, hands
Yeah,
down. It's my favorite Tim Burton movie, favorite Johnny Depp movie.
my favorite Tim Burton movie is obvious. Anybody can guess? Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Man.
Batman. Nope. Wrong.
Batman Returns.
There we go. Batman Returns. Anyway, well, I think we're gonna do some final thoughts. Nate, you got work tonight, right?
hmm
Hmm.
That sounded optimistic.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. Let's go ahead and do final thoughts. Nate, you go first. Final thoughts on these two movies, or on Rob Zombie as a whole, other than Halloween.
Rob Zombie as a whole.
Just movie wise, not
Well, when it was announced that he was going to make or when it was announced that Halloween was being remade, I remember going, I was part of that. Oh, you can't remake Halloween. Why are they doing this? This sucks. And I read Rob Zombie was doing it. And this is right after Devil's Rejects. I went, well, at least it'd be interesting.
Mhm.
And that's really what I felt like, because to me, a lot of remakes felt bland, like they had no vision. And at least Rob does have a vision. They're obviously his films, so he's a filmmaker in this genre who makes his movies, and they're obviously his movies, and that alone is an accomplishment. To when you can identify someone's films, even if it's things you don't like, and again, just because you don't like them does not mean they suck. It's just because a lot of people mix up fact with preference or opinion. Where it's like, okay, just because you don't like that style, okay, so those characters are all foul-mouthed, awful people. That's his choice. It doesn't mean it's a bad choice. It's just not your thing. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't write that movie. That's not what you prefer.
Most people wouldn't write that movie.
But just because it doesn't meet your preference or tickle your scrotum, trademark, doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's just not your thing. And again, the world is far more interesting if you see things from other people's perspectives and not just your own. And everybody today wants everything to be from their perspective in politics and film and art, every fucking thing. Everything has to fit in my bubble or it shouldn't exist. It should be taken out. And that's, I don't know where that attitude, I don't know if it's an entitlement, spoiled brats, all this bullshit. Grow up, expand your mind, get out of your bubble. Give other people's perspective a chance. Once in a while, you may be surprised. You may learn something. And I'm not saying Rob Zombie's like high art or any bullshit like that. I don't think he's one of the greatest filmmakers around at all. But at least his stuff is interesting and is his. He owns them and he doesn't give a shit and he will stand by them. And that's what you want in an artist. Someone who's just going to do his thing. And you like it or you don't, he doesn't care.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I was actually kind of excited that he was doing it coming off of Rejects, but he owes me like $12. Seth, how about you?
Me too.
I like
He did
Rob
not tickle
Zombie.
my scrotum. By the way, that's the international sign for tickling scrotum. That's what it is? Okay. That's good. Seth, go ahead.
And a cup to balls.
Mine's stepchildren.
I like Rob Zombie. I like his movies. I'm not always in the mood to watch them. I have to be in a certain mood to watch his style. They are, like Nate said, I think in our last show, they are kind of ugly. But I enjoy them, and I'm based on these two conversations, I'm looking forward to watching Three from Hell and Lords of Salem.
Hopefully we didn't like pump them up too much, so you're watching like fuck those guys.
No. I mean, I usually, anytime I watch a movie, I try to go in open-minded and without, what everyone's telling me. Just like when I was watching 31, just earlier that day, we were in the chat and you guys were talking about how it's his worst and how you couldn't get through it. And from the opening scene, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll like this. I know my taste is different than a lot of other people's and vice versa. So I don't know. I'll be fine watching.
Okay. Keith?
I like Rob Zombie's movies. Always have. I know growing up it was like a stigma for me to not talk about liking Rob Zombie because, you got shat on for liking Rob Zombie, especially Halloween. But I guess I got my favorite Rob Zombie movie tonight because I rewatched Lords of Salem for the first time since it came out, and I loved it. It is my favorite. It has a great score and cast and cinematography, and it's like subtle and in your face at the same time. I really like it. That's all I really gotta say. Tickle Your Scrotum T-shirt coming soon, I guess.
Please don't draw that, Nate.
That needs to be drawn by someone who can't draw.
Yeah, we're not making Horror Syndicate Tickle My Scrotum t-shirts. We're not doing that. Jared, what about you? Final thoughts?
I mean, I can really only kind of piggyback what you guys have all said. I mean, his movies are kind of a mixed bag. I mean, there's some similarities with a couple of them. But I can't say that I have watched one of his movies and said I hate it. That's what I can come away with saying about any of his movies. I didn't hate a single one of them. Sure, I didn't like it compared to a couple of others, but when he comes out with his next movie, I'll probably watch that too. Like, that's just the kind of filmmaker he is. And I hope he does something more original like he has been doing lately. And I look forward to what he does.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna not roll my eyes at another Rob Zombie movie. Oh my god. And I think I'm gonna like think about the fact that I do like Rob Zombie's movies. I do like Lords of Salem. I did like 31. I don't like Halloween 2 or Halloween. Um, and don't say Halloween is about a white trash family on Facebook. You'll get banned like our friend Chris Hall for using the term white trash. Seth tried. He tried to call himself white trash and it didn't work.
Yeah, but then in the comments I said Mark Zuckerberg was white trash, and I'm still not banned.
I didn't see that.
I'm so insignificant in Facebook.
Apparently,
I can get away with this shit.
Listen, if that would have happened to me,
that
I would have
suck guy.
gone into the deepest depression of my life if they wouldn't have flagged that. I'm glad you did. Anyway, before we go, next week we've decided we're going to talk about Us and Jordan Peele's Get Out, both of those movies on Tuesday. So make sure you tune in on Tuesday. I'll go out and say I love both of those movies, and I'm looking forward to watching both of them again.
They tickles my scrotum.
They totally tickled my scrotum. Totally. I mean, I'm getting those tingles again right now. I'm like
the most scrotum tickling.
What would you guys think about talking about The Void on Thursday?
That's on my rewatch list. So.
Okay, rewatch it. It's a fantastic movie. So Tuesday we're going to be talking about Jordan Peele's movies, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about his upcoming, even though he's not directing it, Candyman. He is involved with it. But definitely Get Out and Us. So if you're going to follow us, why don't you go ahead and watch those with us? Maybe not with us, but over the weekend. And like I said, when we return, I will be 40. So I may be back. I don't know yet. This may be the end of my life.
Bring Tums.
What? Bring Tums? Is that what you said?
Hey, you're 40. Bring Tums.
I thought you said green thumbs. I was like, what? Green thumbs. Anyway, that's all we got for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube if we ever post videos on there. Like us on Facebook. Share us with your friends because we're friends. So anyway, have a good weekend and Memorial Day weekend. Keep social distancing standards, please. We'll see you on Tuesday with Jordan Peele's movies Us and Get Out. See you next week.